All right, I got 186 hours in PoE 2, and it's time to do a rant-free review of Path of Exile 2. I have made 6 tunes, 1 hardcore, the rest soft. My source is level 70 or 69. Ranger's level 30. I got another ranger at 20. A few level 10s, level 4, level 2, level 1, whatever. Okay? I'm the ultimate casual gamer. I'm not a god gamer like Rax, DM, Mathel, Ben, Woody, Alkaiser, Connor, Jorgen, hell, any of the Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile 2 streamers out there. I am not a god gamer, okay? Not Quinn, I'm not even Quinn, shit. I'm more like Carl from Sling Blade trying to play the game, if you can understand that. I ain't got no gas in me. I've been playing ARPGs for more than 20 years. Okay, I have over 10,000 hours in Diablo 2, 10,000 hours in Diablo 3, played 100 hours of Diablo 1, 200 hours of Diablo 4, as well as Torchlight, Last Epoch. Also have 1,400 hours in PoE 1. I've been playing PC and console video games since I was 5 years old back in 92. From studios like Sierra Online, Maxis, Interplay, Blizzard North, Valve, just to name a few. I've owned a Socrates, 8-bit Nintendo, OG Game Boy, PS1, Dreamcast, PS2, Xbox, Xbox 360, and an Xbox One. So, went ahead and dropped my cred on y'all because, I got a little crazy and did a rant a couple weeks ago because I was frustrated, getting my ass whipped by the game, and folks think that I hadn't played a video game before or something. So anyway, there's my cred. And with that being said, this will be my input or review to y'all as an uber casual, uber unskilled, but super experienced video game player. Let's get into it.
Come on, you piece of junk. It's Hawg, baby.
How about it, y'all? You got Hawg. Thanks for stopping by. So I actually did something different this time. I sat down, I typed out my thoughts. I got things together instead of just spewing them all out to you in traditional Hawg style. I wanted to make sure I covered everything. I did Path of Exile 2 justice. I got it all out, okay? It'll probably be a real long video. I apologize. I hope you stick with me until the end. By the way, I've been streaming every day on Twitch, 3 o'clock Eastern time. If you want to come join me over there, that'd be kick-ass. I should be multi-streaming here on YouTube as soon as I get done installing my fiber, probably next year. I've learned a lot from Diablo 4. I took a bunch of L's with Diablo 4. I learned not to suck off the game the second it comes out and do a review and talk about how great it is and everything, because what's going to happen is once I get about 200 hours in the game, I'm going to get a bunch of egg on my face because there's going to be a bunch of problems that arise after you get the new knocked off the game. So yeah, I did a little rant, sorry about that. Did a little rant because I'm passionate and I love the game and I'm emotional, whatever. And, I didn't really spend 12 hours on the boss, by the way. That was just me, being a Southern and exaggerating a little bit. But we love the game. We didn't quit. We're not a pussy bitch. I know some VTube gal did a reaction to my rant. But to be honest, we've been playing the game so much, I ain't even watched it. I don't give a shit. Like, if you guys are mad about that because I was frustrated and think I quit the game, well, shame on y'all. Shit, I ain't no bitch. So anyway, a little pre-feedback note. This is early access. If you paid the money or you won the key, or if you have a key to get in the game, you have paid for the right to give the feedback, bitch, moan, whine, cry, complain, whatever you want to call it. I'm aware of the fact that the game is incomplete. So either way, this is my feedback to help it get to the most perfect spot. So yeah, you will see me look at my notes here. I want to make sure I did this game justice. It does deserve that. It is a good game. Probably one of the better games that I've played in the last 10 years. So I wanted to make sure that I get everything together because a lot of times I do a video and I go back and listen to it and I'm like, that's not really what I meant. So I wanted to try to do the best that I could to get everything together for y'all. So we're going to start with the good and then we'll go to the bad. Okay. Good first. Graphics are great. Effects are great. Skill effects are great. Knocking the boss on his ass during the stun is great. Shockwaves, telegraphs, etc. are all great. You can see my hideout here. The smoke coming off of the fire. smoke coming off the ground effects, my character's little smoke whirl and all that shit. Absolutely great. The immersion in the world are so good that I don't turn my map overlay on most of the time. I usually turn it off. It's just, I want it out of the way. I want to be able to see what I'm doing. It's pretty cool. I even play zoomed in sometimes. Like, that's cool too. Gives you another feel about the game. Controller play feels amazing. I've played on controller. I've played on joystick. Okay, you see? I got a joystick mounted to my chair here with zip ties, and it's really redneck read. Come by stream, I'll show it to you. But with the emulator, I was able to play on joystick, and that's actually very fun. And it's not just like novelty BS. I was able to beat Monkey Boss with this. You can just actually sit back and chill like you could with controller with joystick. So that felt really good. I was surprised by that. I've played on my Razer TARDIS. I have one of these. I have WASD movement mounted to this. Let me click on the game here. I'll show you. I have my WASD mounted there. It really helps me out with moving around and controlling things and doing all that. That feels really, it's almost OP. It's what it feels like to me. Also play with mouse and key. That feels pretty good. I prefer to use some kind of input device though. I have heard some people say it feels a little floaty, but I hadn't personally experienced that. I have played couch co-op. That feels really good and is pretty fun. And you are also able to play couch co-op and have a party member join you. So if you're playing, you know, with your honey or whatever, and then your buddy in Atlanta wants to play with you online, y'all can all play together. It doesn't limit you in a certain game mode. That's really cool. The only limitations that I experienced with couch co-op, to where it like one person took up the whole screen, would be when you were going to a vendor, but that's not a negative to even talk about. That's just one thing to be aware of as far as the review goes. Feels a lot like Diablo 2 in a lot of ways, at least the theme of it does. Act 1, 2, and 3 lined up pretty much with Act 1, 2, and 3, at least as far as the vibe and feel and atmosphere of Diablo 2. Act 1 was kind of encampment, kind of wilderness feel. Same with Diablo 2. Act 2 was desert, same with Diablo 2. Act 3 was jungle, same as Diablo 2. Jonathan has not been shy about the fact that he loves Diablo 2 and take a lot of influence from Diablo 2, and you can feel it in Path of Exile 2. And unfortunately, guys, that's pretty much the good. You know, we have a very good foundation, very good engine, good feels, good sound, good the music. Let me just go ahead and touch on the music. I play air lute to this shit. Like, it feels really good. It's just like PoE 1 music. It's epic. Kind of reminds you a little bit of some Diablo 2 style music. The music's really good. Everything you kind of expect with PoE 1 as far as music wise, because PoE 1 music was great. That's all here too. So lots of great solid foundation for the game. Everything looks great. Everything feels great. Really great solid foundation for the game. Now, some things that I'd like to, we'll say bad. These are some improvements that I would like to see, or some things that I felt about my playthrough with my personal character. Now, to note, I'm not playing a meta build. I'm not playing Spark. I'm not going to max roll. And now I am now, but getting through the leveling, I wasn't following the traditional, 4 builds or whatever's going on in max roll right now, or whatever your build guide site is. I'm not doing that. I'm playing my own way because that's how the game was advertised to us, to play your own way. So that's how this is feeling. That's from my viewpoint. I am using trade side a lot actually, and I am getting some help, but that's because of the nature of the game. So that's to be noted. Okay, here we go. Interface on controller needs to be fixed so we can use mouse and keyboard seamlessly. You should be able to set your controller down on PC and pick up mouse and key and deal with your inventory, and then pick up your controller again. So many games do that. We should be able to do that here. Okay. I don't know what to tell you if you're on console. I'm sorry, but the inventory, I'm talking about inventory now, inventory management It's still a chore, just like it was in PoE 1 on controller. Campaign in Act 1 needs to be leveled out a bit. This is a hill I will die on. It's far too punishing for new players. You want to ease the difficulty in for new players. You want to get used to the game and learn stuff after a few times. Okay, but my concern is people rage quitting in Act 1 because it's too difficult. So yes, you learn things. And the more you play the game, the better you get. But you don't want it to be too difficult that you block out new players from the game. And you can't have the attitude, the elitist attitude of we don't need new players, because GGG does need new players, and new player retention is a huge thing on their list, which is why we don't have races. Remember, everybody loved races and everybody wanted to see races come back. But when Ziz asked Jonathan about races, he said we didn't see new players come in. That's a very important retention number, or very metric, or not retention number, a metric that they look at is new players, new player retention. I think personally that a too difficult Act 1 will hurt player retention numbers. So that should be adjusted. Also, campaign, way too long. Way too damn long, my opinion. Jonathan used the players will be at a disadvantage excuse for a no campaign skip. But the way the game is designed now, new players will be at a disadvantage regardless because of the starting difficulty in Act 1. Experienced players will already know the fights, know the telegraphs, making them blast through, while a new player is having to struggle, doesn't know all this knowledge. He's going to have to learn all that. Same thing that we're all experiencing right now. Overall, we play ARPGs for the end game. To me, there's no reason an ARPG needs a 100-hour campaign or a 50-hour campaign or 25-hour campaign before you get to an infinite scaling end game, because that's where you're going to spend all your time. So to me, let us get to the end game. Let us level up however the hell we want to do that, whether it's a campaign or the way, let us skip whatever. And then we get to the infinite scaling end game where we're going to spend all our time. The developers themselves even said that's what the ARPG players do, is play the end game. That's why they stopped in the middle of development to work on the end game. So let us just go ahead and get to the end game. This also affects my desire to create alts. Yeah, I'd like to try all the classes at end game, but you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of hours and time investment to do that. I'm not 12 years old anymore. I don't have time to waste on all of that for basically nothing. I'm just not doing that. I'm too old for that shit. I'm not doing it. That's a long time. I don't care if we have 6 months, 12 months before the game's out. I don't care. It's crazy. Leads me into hot take. The game doesn't respect your time, even more than PoE 1 did not respect your time. I can spend hours and hours and hours in this game without any real feeling of accomplishment. Advancing through the acts doesn't give me that. Building Power Fantasy does. However, I don't feel like I build Power Fantasy here. It's kind of very similar to the way I felt in Diablo 4, where I never felt like I out-leveled the monsters and I could actually whoop their ass. That's not the way that I feel here. It's completely lacking in the game for me, maybe in the end game a little bit, but I never get to a point where I actually feel super powerful. Unless you follow the meta streamer builds, which totally defeats the purpose of play your own way, which is how the game was advertised. Small point of annoyance. I'll lose my portal after 8 to 15 minutes, which is just like it was in PoE 1. But if I exit the game, come back 3 days later, I'm in the exact same spot that I was 3 days ago. Just throwing that out there. Dopamine is non-existent for me. Boss fights that take multiple times don't personally give me that sense of accomplishment. Like, yeah, I beat his ass. I'm the man. A lot of players feel that way. I don't. For me, it's a, oh, fuck, finally, get that out of the way. Now, that's not happening so much in the campaign anymore. Obviously, we've learned the bosses. That's happening, I guess, maybe a couple times in the end game, but we'll get to this. But the one shot, or not one shot, but the one deaths in the end game maps kind of defeat that whole thing too. Okay, drops, they're still trash. Sorry. I can go 2 to 3 hours of gameplay with no good drops, no notable currency drops, no good items. Now, when we talk about notable currency drops, I'm not talking about drops that modify blues. I'm talking about drops that modify rares, yellows, and exalts or cool stuff I can trade with, you know, notable currency drops. I found myself playing for an entire day with no notable drops, and this is after the patch. Multiple people in my community are still complaining about the lack of drops. I'm still seeing it online about the lack of drops. Look, it does not have to be a loot pinata, okay? Doesn't have to be that, but we need some kind of drops. Because the drops are garbage, it's pushing me to the trade site to find any kind of good gear to make my character progress, and it seems like it would make solo self-found play super punishing and really not worth it. We were told that crafting was going to be the focus of the itemization here, what we needed to be doing. We were going to be crafting all the time. Yeah, we don't have enough currency drops to actually achieve that because of the lack of scouring orbs too. That plays a part. So in PoE 1, you had a scouring orb that would basically strip all of the modifiers away and return the item to its base form. So with the current crafting system, it's 100% RNG based. So if you have a, was an amethyst ring, gives you chaos resistance. Let's say it's a max roll. It's a base ring. It's a white item, and you have orb alchemy, and you use that orb alchemy to make it a rare with 4 modifiers, and all 4 of those modifiers are total dog shit. You just bricked that perfect base. There's no way, like Orb of Scouring would do, to come in, strip that away, and let you try again. So if it took you 4, 5, 6 hours or 2 days or however long it took you to find that Orb of Alchemy so you could finally upgrade that base that you found, all of that time is completely poof, gone now. So now you're defeated, you bricked your item, it's completely gone. Now you got to find 2 items again to try it again. It's not fun. There's no way to reset it, so if you just farm for hours, just like I said, rolls bad. That's not fun. That's an Alt F4 situation. Let's talk about the class fantasy, and we're going to specifically talk about sorcerers because that's what I have the most experience in, and maybe this will translate to y'all for a little bit, but to me, there's no universe where a sorceress is not, if not the fastest, maybe one of the fastest characters in the game. If you're going to inspire your game around Diablo 2 or build your game around the inspiration from Diablo 2, Sorceress was the fastest click character in the game. She teleported all over everywhere. She blasted everything. We've gone from that to now the Sorceress is slow. And what I mean by that is we're going to talk about my Comet build as a perfect example. There are other skills or other spells, whatever in the game that have this problem as well. But if you cast Comet, you will have to spin around, and then you throw the comet down. It's a plus 1 second cast time that is unmodifiable by anything. And that's what it says in the tooltip. So if you want to play Comet, you're already going to be slow, which is fine. I mean, whatever. But still, it's, you know, after a while, you're like, God damn it, this sucks. And then that's going to force you to go look at the streamers and see what the streamers are doing to overcome that. The sorcerer shouldn't have a super slow cast time on something that you want to play. There's all of these badass skills out there, but I feel like there's so many negative things about a lot of these skills that it's forcing you to go back to the one made a streamlined thing to where you can feel like you're a sorceress. You know, I shouldn't be doing, I'm not a ballerina. I shouldn't be doing a backflip thing to throw a damn comet. I should just throw a fucking comet. I should be able to throw Ice Orb and Frozen Orb and shit and have it explode without having to track again and use another, you know, Cold Snap to make something pop. Just let me have my power fantasy and let me cast it without having cooldowns and I don't like how all this has been put in the game. I know some will say the game is designed to be slow. To me, it's not a valid argument anymore at this point because the streamers have found the fast builds with the slow builds taking the fun out of the game. And now you're pretty much everybody, if you don't take 25% move speed on boots, you pretty much can't even do shit. And so to me, that's like an issue. Try to feel normal with at least 25% move speed on your boots. But again, that's just personal opinion. But if you combine all this, okay, slow classness, the other issues with the huge vastness of the maps and the areas, combined with backtracking and cluelessness, which they kind of fixed a little bit of the backtracking with the teleport to, I should have put this in the pros, the teleport between the checkpoints. That's a huge pro. But combined with backtracking and cluelessness on where to go in some of the maps, it can start feeling pretty bad. Top this off with a lack of map rewards drops. The waystone drops are too low. You have a recipe for a lack of dopamine, which means you probably don't want to continue. I was spending 5,000 gold because I could not get waystones to drop. I was having to spend 5,000 gold per waystone tier 1 from Doriani to run maps. That's just out of balance and probably needs to be fixed. You should probably have tier 1 waystones that drop a pretty good bit. There's other people that are talking about they're in like tier 12 getting tier 2s that are dropping. You know, there's an issue with that. We'll touch on that later. Real quick, ascendancies. They're just ridiculous, okay? Even after the patches, feels like GGG only wants elite gamers to ascend to the 3rd and 4th ascendancies. I make it to level 69 with my sorcerer. Not 69, maybe it was like 65 before I attempted the 2nd ascendancy. First one wasn't that bad for me, but I also have a real bad habit of being super over leveled before I do ascendancies. It's just how I was in PoE 1. I didn't want to take a bunch of the damage from the traps, but at this particular moment, I prefer PoE 1 labs, and I really did not like labs. And it's not that I dislike Sanctum or whatever. I just, it just feels like doing chores a little bit. I can't really put my finger on it. It just feels like doing chores for power. It feels like doing Lilith altars of Lilith statues in that realm a little bit. Like I just don't like having to do non-fun things for power. I can't fucking stand it. It is what it is. Let's talk about build diversity a little bit. That's lacking. The nerfs and limitations to support gems have narrowed down the list of builds that people want to play. Just like I was talking about with Comet a few minutes ago. Even though it one-shots everything, because it takes 2 or 3 seconds to set up and cast and all, it's viewed as trash compared to the Spark build that everybody is playing. So, you know, you do have to cast a firewall. It freezes everything. It's really nice because it keeps everything out of your face. You survive really nice. You cast your ice wall. I don't know if I said fire. You cast your ice wall, and then you cast your Comet. Comet hits ice wall, one-shots everything, shatters the ice wall, it kills everything, it's got an echo, comes down, everything one-shots. But because it takes so long to do all that, it's just a slog to play. And so you're just sitting here like, cast, to where if you would let it to be where I could just cast, and I know more people are gonna say, well, it feels like PoE 1. Well, it was fun. It's okay if it feels like PoE 1. It's fun. You got to stop the bad things about PoE 1. And it wasn't killing things that was bad about PoE 1. It wasn't that. I guess so the solution to this might be like, let's buff some of these, like remove a cast time that's non-modifiable off of some of these skills. Like I think some of the animations for Warrior are crazy. Like shorten some of those a little bit. You can still have them, but at least let us modify them or something. But what it's doing is it's narrowing down the builds to stuff that's really easy, that, you know, there's no diversity right now because everything's just kind of clipped. We have no map tab. Is anyone talking about that? We have no map tab right now, even though we had it in PoE 1 and all my other tabs transferred over except my map tab. Why do we have an essence tab but no map tab? Question mark. And then we'll dip into the end game. You know, I've maybe run, you know, 30 or 40 maps. I don't even know if I've run 40 maps, maybe 30 maps. End game's it's fine, but it's also my main problem is the maps don't drop enough to sustain. Like I said earlier, I'm having to spend 5K early to buy tier 1 maps. That's trash, especially when you realize you're gonna need to respec, that your tune's trash and you're gonna be out of gold. I've completed 1 tier quest line before starting another tune. I've noticed other people would rather play new tunes instead of doing end game. I can't go into super details about armor and how I feel about all that and la la la. It's just I've really not had the desire to push deeper into the end game, and that's maybe the problem. It's 100% about gameplay speed for me, I think, and very little rewards. I find myself saying, why did I just play this for this long with no drops, no rewards, no dopamine? Why do I need to invest all this time into this for zero return? Like I said, I can't give my input on armor and shit like that in later games because honestly, I just don't have enough give a shit to grind through to get to that. I've had a lot of people give their feedback to me about it. Say there's really no reason to push through. The stuff's hard. You get one shot. The lost XP is too difficult. I can't personally comment on that. I can comment on that I have been conditioned. The game has conditioned me to this point to have the thought process of, well, nothing has dropped for me now. Why will it drop today? So, you know, nothing's dropped for me before. Why will it drop for me now? And that's really not good. It should be, holy shit, what am I going to find? It should be, you know, we always talk about in Diablo 2, there's a reason we farm Mephisto, you know, oh, well, there was no end game. You farmed Baal, Mephisto, and Pendleskin over and over. It's because you knew that they had a potential to drop something badass. And they would drop decent stuff for you to make money on while you were farming for that badass shit. And that's what we have to get back to. That's not what's happening right now. So unfortunately, a lot of the problems from PoE 1 are still here, and we got added problems. I'm still hearing things like, go look at a build guide, play another build. Streamer X doesn't have a problem. He's playing a multiple mirror build. Go to page 2 and start trading. Rarity is too overpowered. Build diversity is small. So this is why I was saying from the beginning that PoE 2 was not going to be a totally different game. It's just a progression in the series. It's still an ARPG. It's still PoE at its core. It's still got a lot of the PoE stuff that's going on with it. Just because we added dodge roll, you know, I have to take back my, more like it's Dark Soul. Like I have to take that stuff back because it's really not like Dark Souls just because we added dodge roll. There's just harder bosses in it, I guess. But now that we know about the bosses, they're really not that hard. So, and the game's kind of progressing, looks kind of more like PoE 1 as it grows. So, yeah, but just saying, like, we've still got those same problems that existed there. They're starting to show their face here. We need to fix some of those. It would be really nice to see an auction house. We'll touch on that here shortly. Just real quick, the Goblin Troupe pet has been replaced with the Kiwi. Skleep, skleep, skleep. Y'all heard that thing? At least we can turn down the environment sounds now, but man, that's worse than the Goblin Troupe pet. One thing I'm curious about is why I'm not hearing any complaining about still playing piano keys with WASD while casting multiple combos while dodge rolling and using flasks. Okay, so they took away utility flasks to solve the piano flask issue, but it's still here just in another form. I mapped my movement stick to my razor like I showed y'all, and it's a real nice workaround, but I can't imagine trying to use WASD on the keyboard while casting spells, dodge roll, and hitting flasks. I know some of y'all have, you know, using a MMO mouse or whatever. I'm using a Logitech gaming mouse as well. I've got all that shit mapped too, but I'm just talking about, I can't imagine a regular player who doesn't have all this stuff, trying to do all that stuff. To me, it's not a workaround. It's like, makes it harder. Giving us one charm, taking away all those utility flasks to make it better and giving us basically one charm sucks. Just going to throw that out there. Taking away the crafting bench and the ability to remove the runes has made it harder to craft. It's made it harder to get your resistances and all because you can't just replace the runes to make it real quick and get back to having fun. And if you find a new piece of gear that's badass, sometimes you're having to rework all of your gear to get it right. It's worse in PoE 2 than it was in PoE 1. We also need a real auction house. We need the limitations taken off the skills and the gear. We still have no idea what we're actually doing DPS wise. Even though we have that number, it's usually inaccurate. So we have to wait for Path of Building as we have no training dummy. So if we can get those things, that would be great. Anything that I can do to stay in the game, not have to go to a third party site or application would be fantastic. Still have extreme GPU loads with the projectile builds, and we're still playing Tetris inside the inventory. We still have no resort button. That would be really nice to get some of that fixed. So my final thing, okay, this is just, I know they'll fix it, but just my final annoyance is none of my PoE 1 MTX is showing up at all. It's very annoying. Some folks have like some super old stuff that's showing up, but my stuff from maybe a year and a half ago from all those supporter packs, none of that shit is showing up at all. And it's very annoying. I really want my Cosmic Turtle hideout, even though this hideout right here is pretty cool. And the one I bought from the PoE 2 supporter packs, like all the PoE 2 supporter pack stuff shows up, but nothing else. So didn't they, like, tell me if I'm wrong in the description, but didn't they, one of the reasons why they delayed was so the MTX would transfer over, and it ain't transferred over. Maybe it's just me, but either way, the game is really good. I've been playing the shit out of it. No game is perfect. There's always going to be gripes, but this is early access. This is our time to provide feedback. Whether you agree or disagree with the feedback that I provided, that's fine. Especially if you've paid the money to do it, you are more than allowed to give your feedback on the game and how you feel about it. This is how I feel about it. I hope it was a little structured this time so I could get everything I needed to get off my chest and not rant and all that shit. But we've done a lot with the game. We've played it twice on a boat. I do some of those streams. Like I said, we played it with the joystick, played it with controller, played multiple tunes. You know, it's a good game. The foundation's there. We just need to turn up some of the stuff that I think needs to be turned up, and maybe that would make it just a phenom game. But anyway, hit like and subscribe for more content. We'll see y'all next time.